Every villain has a breaking point, and some of these villains weren't wrong. They were just pushed too far by broken systems, and nobody paid attention until it was too late. Today we're looking at 8 characters who in their own twisted ways were more right than the people around them wanted to admit. Let's talk about Buddy, known as Syndrome from The Incredibles, because his story is honestly kind of heartbreaking when you really think about it. Buddy was simply a kid that genuinely wanted to help. Kids are like that. They see something cool happening and they think, yeah, I can do that. I can be part of this.
I can do anything.
But Mr. Incredible, he doesn't see it that way. He sees a liability. Like, bro, please stop helping. And he's not entirely wrong. A kid running into the middle of a supervillain fight is dangerous. So Mr. Incredible stops him. Fair enough. But he just shuts him down.
Fly home, buddy. I work alone.
To an adult, that's rejection. You get over it. You move on. To a kid, that's something totally different. So Buddy flips the logic. If the only people who get to be special are the ones born with abilities, then maybe the whole system is corrupt. And that's where Syndrome is actually right. Superheroes gatekeep power. If you weren't born special, you just exist in the background. So when he says,
and when everyone's super, no one will be.
That's him asking, why do a handful of people get all the respect, all the power, all the purpose? Now, obviously building a murder robot and trying to kill superheroes is completely unhinged, but the idea that hero worship creates inequality, that can turn into something bitter. Yeah, that part's real.
You can't count on anyone, especially your heroes.
Syndrome was a kid who got told to stop helping, and he decided that meant the whole system was rigged. And maybe he wasn't wrong about that either. Moving on to Henry Waternoose III in Monsters, Inc., a character who's in way over his head. This guy runs an actual city of monsters, and that whole city runs on one thing, the screams of children. I know, it's weird. Then the scream shortage hits. Waternoose realizes if the screams stop, the energy stops. If the energy stops, the city collapses.
Without Scream, we have no power.
No power, no jobs, homes go dark, monsters freeze. Everything falls apart. He's looking around at his employees like, what's the plan here? And everyone else at Monsters Inc. is just standing around like, dang, that's crazy. No one even Googling alternative power. So Waternoose panics, and when someone in power panics, they don't get creative, they get desperate. He literally says,
I'll kidnap 1,000 children before I let this company die, and I'll silence anyone who gets in my way!
Which is, yes, completely insane. But listen to what he's actually saying underneath that. He thinks he's saving everyone. From his point of view, the choice is simple. Do something horrible or watch an entire city die. If fear is the only fuel they have, then use more fear. That's why he keeps escalating. Then straight up, whatever it takes. Waternoose was right about one thing. Monstropolis was always one bad week away from collapse. What he got wrong was thinking that squeezing a dying system harder was the only answer. Now let's look at Chef Skinner in Ratatouille, because this guy is basically every manager you've ever hated. Everyone loves Remy, I get it, but let's just be real for a second. If you walked into a fancy 5-star restaurant and found out a rat was running the kitchen, what would you do? You'd call someone. The health department, the police, the Avengers. Skinner wasn't crazy for freaking out. From his perspective, this was a lawsuit waiting to happen. So when he says, "Get this rat out of my kitchen," that's actually a legit response, right? Where Skinner becomes the villain is why he cares. It's not about food safety. It's not even really about the rat. It's about ownership. Skinner didn't build this restaurant. He inherited it. It was always Gusteau's. And now some random rat shows up with actual talent, and suddenly people care about the food again instead of Skinner. And Skinner realizes he could just use Remy. The rat cooks, Skinner takes the profit, everyone's happy, right? Was he right to worry about a rat in the kitchen? Yep. Was he right to care about the restaurant's reputation? Sure was. But he chose greed over growth. Skinner became evil when he realized he could profit from someone else's passion and decided that was enough. Yzma in The Emperor's New Groove is a villain who is unhinged. Completely unhinged. Let's just get that out of the way. But Kuzco? He absolutely had it coming. This man shouldn't have been emperor. This man woke up every day and was a menace to everyone around him. He He insulted people, ignored advice, and basically treated the entire empire like his personal playground. So when Yzma gets fired, just suddenly fired for no real reason, her first instinct is, this guy cannot be allowed to run a country. She's not wrong. She's actually right.
Oh, and by the way, you're fired.
Fired? What do you mean, fired?
Here's what people forget about Yzma. She was Kuzco's advisor. She practically raised him. In the background, she was running the empire, paperwork, planning, you know, the actual brains. She did the real work while Kuzco posed and flexed and did whatever he wanted. And then one day, he fires her.
How could he do this to me? Why, I practically raised him.
She watched this idiot mess everything up for years, and when she gets fired, she finally loses all patience. He decides to destroy an entire village. Just erase it off the map. Why? So he can build a summer house. No warning to the locals who's lived there for generations. No, sorry about this. Just, yeah, we're wiping your town off the map. Anyway, birthday party tomorrow.
I just needed an insider's opinion before I okayed this spot for my pool.
So Yzma decides to poison him, but turns him into a llama instead, which is obviously crazy on a whole new level. But her core argument? This guy is selfish, reckless, and is willing to hurt anyone around him. Absolutely. The movie literally proves her right. Kuzco has to lose power and go on this whole journey before he learns empathy. Which means the real problem wasn't entirely Yzma, it was that nobody stopped him sooner. You can't blame her for seeing the disaster coming. And honestly, if you spent years being ignored while watching someone wreck everything, yeah, you might turn a man into a llama too. Then there's Robert Callahan from Big Hero 6. Okay, Callahan is one of those villains where you start the movie thinking, okay, spooky mask guy, what's your deal? And then by the end, you're just sad. Because Callahan wasn't a villain at first. He was the cool professor who actually cared about his students. The one telling them, think about the consequences of your technology. Which is important, by the way, remember that. Then comes this portal experiment. And Callahan, he straight up warns Cray, this isn't ready.
Hey! You did this! You knew it wasn't ready!
Callahan?
The machine is literally failing. And Cray's like, yeah, but innovation though. So they push ahead anyway, the portal explodes, Callahan's daughter Abigail gets pulled into it, she's just gone.
Contact with the pod!
Oh no.
And here's where the system completely fails him. There's no investigation, there's no accountability, there's no consequences. It's just, wow, that's tragic. Anyway, moving on. Callahan is left alone with grief and rage and the absolute certainty that nobody powerful is ever going to answer for what happened. That's the moment he breaks. Wouldn't you?
No! You knew it was unsafe. My daughter is gone because of your arrogance.
He's a father trying to make sure what happened to his daughter matters. He wants someone to answer for it. Now, weaponizing microbots and trying to destroy the city, that's not a healthy coping mechanism. But he trusted the system, and the system ignored him. So he puts on the mask because rage finally gave him something the system wouldn't: control. That's why Callahan hits different from other villains. Every single motive is driven by grief that never got dealt with.
You're going to watch everything you built disappear. Then it's your turn.
Callahan wasn't right about revenge, but he was right about this. When powerful people rush technology, ignore warnings, and dodge responsibility, someone always pays the price. Callahan isn't a monster. He's a dad that felt like he had no other choice. At first, Lotso in Toy Story 3 looks like a joke. This bear smells like strawberries and talks like a southern mob boss. So at first you're like, alright, evil teddy bear, whatever. But then you realize, dude is hurt. Like, seriously hurt. He started as a toy who was loved. He had a kid and a place in the world. Then one day he gets lost, and when he finally makes it back home, his kid has already said, next.
Something snapped. She replaced us. Come on. No, she don't.
To a toy that's abandonment. That moment teaches Lotso the worst possible lesson. Love doesn't last. So when he ends up at Sunnyside Daycare, he doesn't see a second chance, he sees a system. Kids come in, toys get wrecked, toys get thrown out, and the cycle repeats. So Lotso decides, I'm never letting this happen to me again. So he builds control, rules, punishment for toys that don't obey. because power feels safer than being replaced. And here's where Lotso is actually right. Toys do get abandoned. Kids do move on. That's reality. He takes the fact that the world is cruel, that love doesn't last, that you'll probably be thrown away, and he decides nobody deserves to be treated well. If love is temporary, then nobody gets special treatment. If I have to suffer, everyone suffers, because at least then, I'm not alone.
She don't love you no more. Now come on!
Lotso is trying to make sure he's never hurt again, and he does that by hurting everyone else first. That's why he smiles while doing awful things, why he lies so easily, why Sunnyside looks like a safe place until you actually have to live there. Lotso wasn't wrong about the world being cruel. He was wrong for the fact that he gave up on love before love even got a chance to come back. Now we get to Goob in Meet the Robinsons, which is basically what happens when nobody pays attention to a child until it's too late. At first glance, he's a joke. Bowler hat bags under his eyes, dressed in black. But then you notice something worse. What the heck is he wearing? Under the suit, he's still wearing the same baseball uniform from when he was a kid. Same one. Too short, too tight. Like he put it on at 12 and said, yeah, I'm staying emotionally right here forever. Because Goob didn't just have a bad night, he had the bad night. It was the last game of the season. Same day as the science fair. Lewis is up all night inventing stuff, keeping Goob awake. And Goob keeps asking, pretty polite mind you, hey man, can you stop? I've got a game tomorrow. Which Lewis doesn't, of course. So Goob goes to the game exhausted. 9th inning. The winning catch is right there, and then he falls asleep, misses the ball, game over. And what happens? The other kids beat him up.
Everyone will tell you to let it go and move on, but don't.
Turns out that's his future self giving him the worst advice possible. So Goob listens. After that, no parents want to adopt him. Not because he's a bad kid, but because he's angry. A couple people try to be his friend, but he's so mad he doesn't even notice. Then the orphanage closes. Everyone leaves except Goob.
They all hated me. Eventually they closed down the orphanage and everyone left, except me.
He spends the next 30 years in that orphanage. Same room, same uniform, same radio.
It was then that I realized it wasn't my fault. It was yours.
Listening to Lewis succeed over and over, while Goob stays stuck in the 9th inning. If Lewis didn't keep me up all night, I catch the ball. If I catch the ball, I get adopted. If I get adopted, my life is completely different. And suddenly, revenge makes sense to him. Here's where Goob is actually right. Neglect changes people. He was a kid who needed help and was ignored. He was beaten up and was never given a second chance. And while the person who caused all this got to move forward and succeed, Goob stayed stuck in one moment for 30 years. His response is insane, but his beef, that's valid. Finally, there's Evelyn Dever from Incredibles 2, a villain whose argument is so solid that you almost forget she's using mind control. Here's the thing about Evelyn. She loses her father because of superheroes. That's life-changing stuff.
He died. Pointlessly. Stupidly. Waiting for heroes to save the day.
But Evelyn builds an entire worldview around it. And she has a point. Society has become addicted to heroes. And honestly, she's not wrong about that. People don't solve their own problems anymore. They wait until something goes wrong. Where are the supers? Nobody prepares and takes responsibility. Why would you when a cape is eventually going to show up? That's her whole point. Heroes don't just save people, they train people to rely on supers. Hero worship turns everyone else into spectators.
Superheroes keep us weak.
So Evelyn decides she's going to prove it. If people see heroes fail, if people see supers lose control, maybe society will finally stand on its own. And here's where everything goes wrong. Instead, she becomes Screenslaver. She uses screens to control people's minds, which is wild because at that point, you're not exposing the problem, you're proving you don't understand it at all. She says supers are dangerous tyrants, then she becomes one. So no, Evelyn didn't prove that heroes are the problem. She didn't wake society up. She just showed how easy it is to control people when you think they're too weak to think for themselves. Evelyn wasn't wrong about the idolatry. In the end, she didn't end hero worship, she just replaced it with herself. Villains don't start as monsters. They start as people who have been hurt. They start as kids who weren't listened to, workers who weren't respected, parents who lost everything. Ignore problems long enough and someone will weaponize them. If you're still here, hit subscribe and click on the next video, because the scariest villains aren't wrong about the problem. They're just proof of what happens when nobody fixes it.